those needs. So the EFF's Dr. Mbuyiseni Ndlozi resigning as a member of parliament after serving in the House for 10 years. In a statement, the party says Ndlozi and Yazini Tetyana have decided to step down from their parliamentary duties but remain members of the EFF. Now, Ndlozi is a key figure in the party, having served in its top structures since its formation in 2013, but notably absent in the EFF's activities before and during the party's elective conference in December. And it fueled speculation of a rift between him and leader Julius Malema. Tetyana served in various capacities in the Eastern Cape before being deployed into Parliament, and it is not clear where the pair will be redeployed, and their replacements have not been announced. Let's do some snap analysis on this now, and Asanda Ngoasheng joins me. Good morning, and thanks as always for your time and your availability. We do appreciate it. And I guess one of the obvious questions is, did he jump or was he pushed to do this? The party says this was a voluntary request. We know that party leader Julius Malema was speaking in Nasrec in last month about Ndlozi, who was not there at the party's elective conference, saying, "I'm not responsible for Mbuyiseni Ndlozi. 90% of the people who are here are expected to be here, and that is all that matters. Whoever's not here was not supposed to be here from the beginning. So you're not going to reduce this organization to some individual." There have been persistent suggestions of a rift between himself and Malema. What's your read?
Thank you so much for having me. I think that, I would say it's more like he was pushed. It's been clear that there has been this rift, and Julius Malema himself has made it a habit for quite a number of years to actually insult, slag, and speak very negatively about his own political partners. And so I'm not surprised that there has been this kind of fallout, because he hasn't been a person who keeps quiet when there seems to be rift. Started off with Floyd Shivambu, and he had a lot to say that was negative about Floyd Shivambu. And within a couple of months, it became clear that Floyd was leaving for the MK. And I think, this resignation from Parliament is just step one, and we're likely to see a resignation from the actual political party of the EFF. Perhaps he's just weighing his options and trying to figure out what his move is going to be. Because if he was going to stay in the EFF, they would have made sure that they're announcing his resignation from Parliament, but they're announcing where he's going to be deployed to. And I think Ndlozi is a very important member of the EFF, having been with the EFF from the beginning and been a member of Parliament since 2014, and also been a spokesperson and a chief whip, which are quite senior positions, and of course having a very significant impact on the policy of the political party, having been somebody who was fighting for the insourcing of workers before he even joined the EFF, which ensured that the EFF was part of the student fees must fall movement, and was quite relevant in that era. And in fact, if you look at the growth of the EFF on campuses, it can, I think, be attributed to some of the work that he did on campuses before and during his tenure as a senior member of the EFF.
Asanda, you preempted my second question, because I was going to ask you whether the die is cast on his departure from the party over this. And as you've just said, it seems as if that is an inevitability. You also cited the relationship that he has with, and where questions were raised about his loyalty to the EFF and that relationship between him and former Deputy President of the party, Floyd Shivambu, before his defection to Umkhonto weSizwe Party. So, okay, let's quickly just deal with Tetyana and the impact of that. So Tetyana was the EFF leader in the Eastern Cape, also served as a member of the Eastern Cape legislature before joining Parliament. How significant is that resignation?
Well, I think that's also quite a significant resignation, because although the EFF, although the ANC is the majority party in the Eastern Cape and continues to be popular, the EFF was making some gains and some inroads, and that can, of course, be attributed to people like Tetyana, who himself has been a member of Parliament since 2019. So very soon after the EFF started or became members of Parliament in 2014, 5 years later, he was a member of Parliament, and I'm sure he did a lot of organizing for the party in the province, and that's why he became, he was promoted to the national to the national level. And I think if I looked, I just did a quick look at some of the questions that they asked in Parliament in order to get a sense of what both members were passionate about. And it was interesting to see that they really were pushing, on issues like Phala Phala, on issues like advertising spend, on the new age during state capture. And of course, the Eastern Cape senior leader was particularly passionate about water and sanitation issues, asking a lot of questions about water and sanitation, particularly for informal settlements. And so there's a lot of work that these politicians were doing. There's a lot of advocacy that they were doing, and there's a lot of organizing that they were doing. And their leaving the party means that there's going to be a huge dip in terms of organizing capacity, in terms of policy making capacity, because, it's not just about losing leaders. You're losing experience, you're losing institutional memory, and you're losing people who not only understand the party political system, but also understand the parliamentary system. And, if you look at someone like Ndlozi, he sat for a number of years on that rules committee. And we know that the EFF, one of the things it can claim to have revolutionized, or at the very least challenge in terms of the status quo, was how the rules of parliament were implemented and the ANC's dominance and ability to use parliament as its rubber stamping house rather than a rule-making house. And so this is quite a big loss. And I'm sure Julius Malema will pretend as if it's not. But if you understand politics and the ways in which it works and the systems of governance, you will see that this is a loss whichever way you look at it.
And as you outlined as well, both the impact on politics and the activities or the issues that the party was passionate about in Parliament, these are not cursory members. These are, as you've just described, influential members. And we know that, as we've also just reminded our viewers, that a 10-year role in Parliament that Ndlozi had played. Asanda, thanks for dropping by at a moment's notice. We definitely will talk more about this in the coming days, because we also want to make this analogy between the EFF and COPE. In fact, very quickly, maybe in 20 or 30 seconds, just talk to us about how you see all of this playing out for the party as a whole.
Well, I think, it does raise questions about the EFF's ability to make it beyond 2019 and whether it's going to, be able to repeat its past wins, particularly when you look at the influence that Ndlozi and to an extent Floyd had in the youth, which is where a big chunk of the ANC, of the EFF's membership comes from, and the growth has come from in the past.